Hi everyone, it's me, Jessica Lahore, and you're back with another Jess Talk here on LahoreTube. But before we get into this week's episode about tipping and all my opinions on tipping, make sure that you subscribe to my channel, you've hit the bell for notifications, and you're streaming this podcast. Jess Talks are available on iTunes, Spotify, Apple Music, anywhere that you can find any kind of podcast. So, let's jump into it. Attention Lahore, attention Lahore, attention Lahore, attention. Here I am walking down the street, seeing all the boys trying to take a peek. Shorts pulled up and chest out right. Come on, boys, just take a bite. Look but don't touch, spin it round and round. Okay, this Just Talk is going to be all about tipping. Now, I don't want to focus necessarily 100% on drag tipping, but I'm going to throw that into the mix. I think that as I've gotten older, I have experienced tipping in a way that has been more clear in my intentions and my mindset. So there are phrases like, oh, if you can't afford to go eat, you can't afford to tip. Or no, if you can't afford to tip, you can't afford to go eat. If you're at a drag show, you have to tip. I've watched entertainers stop their numbers in the middle of their number because nobody was tipping them and make a big deal out of it.
Give me your fucking money!
And to me, tipping is part of the service that we provide, and most services provide. Tipping is what you do to show appreciation outside of a service that is being provided. Did they do a good job? Did they go above and beyond? And do not mistake going above and beyond for being like a cheapskate version of that. Like, you should be tipping people for doing the bare minimum of what they're expected to do as a server, as a massage therapist, as a drag artist, as a bartender. Where I think things kind of change a little bit for me is I don't believe in the idea that just because you cannot afford to tip does not mean that you can't go out. Everyone's in different economic standpoints in their life. Everybody has different financial responsibilities. Sometimes you just need the ability to treat yourself or go do something. And as long as you're as respectful in return, and I get that the person receiving the tip may not understand that, but I've been in positions where I've been unable to tip. And that I had this many dollars and I said, you know what? Life just seems like shit. I really want to take myself out for a meal or spend that extra money on a beverage, like a drink with my friends, or maybe I'm spending that money to be safer to Uber or something like that, okay? And I think it's important to understand that a lot of it comes with intentions, even if you're not the one receiving the dollar at the end of the day. I've been in positions where I have wanted to tip so badly at drag shows and I can't. And that's why at every one of my shows, I really promote the idea of like, hey, we love your dollars. Get in your pockets, tip your entertainers. We're working hard for you. And I always make a statement that's like, if you do not have anything financial to give, your largest and your best asset is going to be your voices, your noise, and your energy. Sometimes we just need that a little bit more. If you have nothing financially to give, you have to work twice as hard, screaming for your entertainers, cheering for your entertainers, getting a little bit excited when we need you to. And I think that can come with the same principle for other places. So I can't tip my Uber driver for whatever reason, but I can give him a 5-star review, which is beneficial. I understand, like, I can't pay my rent with a 5-star review. However, in certain businesses, your reviews will help you get more business or better clientele or to raise your rates or your prices. And I would say that's the same thing. Like, I don't have the ability to tip this server. Well, let me go to the manager and say, hey, I just want you to know that so-and-so was absolutely amazing. They were the best server I've ever had. They were so accommodating and so wonderful and so nice. And sometimes that can go a long way. That could lead to a promotion. That could lead to getting a better section in a restaurant. Here's where my tipping mentality goes into. I was a server. I worked in the service industry for easily 7 to 9 years of my life. And you would get tables that would not tip. You would get tables that would tip in various amounts. I think if you are doing the bare minimum of your job, that's an 18% tip in my opinion. Like, you are just doing what you need to do to do your job. It used to be 15%, and I really think that's cheapskating things because people have to pay rent and bills go up, but why is the tipping rate staying the same? Like, if all these other expenses are going up. So I believe a pretty generic solid, I'm not being needy. It's just like really simple. Maybe I go in for a cup of coffee or something like that. I don't need you a lot. You did your job. I went in, came out, 18% bottom line. I think where I really appreciate it is especially if I'm noticing the restaurant's busy, if they're juggling multiple things, if they made a suggestion for me or something like that, then you're going up to like that 20 to 25%. And I'm a very generous tipper because I've been in the service industry, but that's now in my life because I'm able to afford that, and I'm able to show people appreciation that way, especially for venues that I work for. I tip really, really heavy when I come in off the clock. I tip super heavy because, in my opinion, and here's where I think this is going to get controversial, and follow me here for a second. As drag artists specifically, most of our pay comes from a base rate and getting 2 drink tickets or a tab at the bar or something like that. And more times than not, that base pay is very, very low and it doesn't match equally to the services that we're providing. But in this industry, you take what you can get, and you also promote yourself to deserve a better income or a better base rate. If I'm promised 2 drink tickets, and this is where I think people will disagree with me, those 2 drink tickets are part of my pay. That's assuming that I make not a single dollar in tips. That's assuming that I got like the bare lowest end of what I was willing to work an event for. And so that is part of my pay, okay? Where I think things shifted for me a little bit is if the staff is going above and beyond, like if they're willing to not necessarily put me first, but put to acknowledge me and my existence a little bit more, if they're friendly to me, if they're not just like, oh, another drag queen. There are still bartenders that literally will wait for the drag entertainers in the show till the very end of the line. And that's not their place in line. That's just like, you're the last person I'm concerned about. And to me, I'm like, I totally get that. I like that's a fair thing. I'm getting my 2 free drinks. You know, I'm coming up here with my 2 free drinks. I'm not going to grab your attention or like demand your attention right off the bat. But I do like tipping out my staff when I'm on the clock, when they go above and beyond, and when they're helping out and they acknowledge me and they make me feel like I'm part of this team, just as much as I'm trying to promote people to go and get drinks from the bar staff. Now, when I go outside of my 2 drinks, I tip the same as if I were coming off the clock. To me, that's not part of my pay. I'm asking for more. I'm asking for extra. And at that point, I tip heavy. I tip pretty heavy. Now, it takes like very, very specific things for me to complain about somebody, for me not to tip somebody.
Fuck you!
Oh,
And it has happened. Like I said, I come from the service industry. I can be as understanding as humanly possible with what's going on. But I've had servers blatantly be homophobic, blatantly be rude to me or my friends, be entirely disgusted at the fact that they have to work a shift for people like this isn't the job. And you can only give so many chances until you get to a point where you're like, I get that you may not want to work here and you don't want to serve me or to wait on me for this table, but this is your job and technically the responsibilities that you have, and you're actively choosing to be a fucking dick. And I have blatantly told managers about my experiences. I don't call it caring. I call it caring for good or kenning. I don't know what you want to say, but you should be able to speak up about those experiences in a way that doesn't cause like unnecessary harm. And it's all about response and reaction to people. Most servers and people in the industry do their goddamn best to be the most accommodating, the most flexible to what you want, to give you exactly the experience you deserve. And not everyone's perfect, and I'm not faulting that. But when people blatantly go out of the way to be a dick in the service industry, I just don't get it. It's like drag entertainers blatantly being disrespectful, rude, insulting to people, mean to the staff, mean to the venue, mean to your customers. Those are the people that are ultimately in the circle of life. You all help each other to pay each other's bills. So why are you being mean to that person? Okay, and I also don't appreciate when people in the audience would be mean to a drag entertainer, or if I saw somebody at another table being rude to a server unnecessarily. That's shit that I stand up for, and I would go and interject in the situation. I think tipping is necessary. Do I think tipping comes with exceptions and situational pieces? Absolutely. Whether that's in the drag world, whether that's in the human muggle world is what I call it. I think tipping is in place to show appreciation to the people providing a service, but I think that we've been set on the same standards for tipping for years and years and years, and while that's staying consistent and everything else is getting more expensive and going up, and like my time is more valuable, and so I should also tip you for your time. Tip your delivery drivers in this, especially in bad weather. Like tip if you can, and tip what you would want to get tipped if you were that person, if you provided the same service that they provided. That's really how you should think of it. I don't appreciate when like an older generation of people
We're like, well, my day, a $2 tip on a $90 bill is what you did, like that's what we did when we grew up, it teaches you character and saving money.
No, it doesn't fucking teach you character. It teaches you that you have to do 4 jobs to afford just the basic costs of living. And that's such a shitty mentality.
Well, I had to struggle, so they have to struggle.
And I think that's where a big part of my shift, I stopped entirely doing tip spots once COVID hit. I still strongly believe in tip spots, but I don't provide them because of the backlash that I got. Tip spots in the drag world, I think with the right power behind it, are great opportunities. Tip spots and open stage nights and charity events and donating your times, tip, and talent, I think in the drag world are important for you to become a fully successful drag entertainer. I think that you learn things about yourself, you network better, you create relationships, your art becomes more a focus than the dollar. I think giving back to your community is important. I was one of those people that for like the first 3 years of my drag career did tip spots, open stage nights, and unpaid events and things like that just to get my name out there. And as much as I don't think I should have spent 3 years there, I do think that there's a rite of passage that drag entertainers or any kind of entertainment industry kind of goes through, because our industry is so based off of networking and connections, and are you willing to show up and show out when you need to? And I think that speaks volumes. I still, to this day, will take tip spots, but everything is situational. Everything is based off of me saying yes to it and wanting to do it rather than feeling like I'm forced to do it. And if that's, honestly, when I was growing up in drag, I needed those tip spots in order to survive. And I was willing to take whatever I could get. And now that I'm in a position where I can produce a lot more and offer more opportunity, I listened to the community without blatantly saying it, and I got rid of them. People called it, gatekeeping. People said that I was picking and choosing who got tip spots, and I really didn't do that. I could sit here and justify myself all day. There was a system behind it. There's an understanding behind it. But ultimately, obviously, it was not what this city wanted, so I stopped entirely. And then I'd have people come to me and say, hey, can I do a tip spot in your show? I said, no, I don't offer that anymore. I'm sorry. Because I just wouldn't do that. Have I been in certain cases where an entertainer is in from out of town, or they've driven an hour to get to the show and they're like, hey, is there any way I can do a pop-up? I make it very clear up front. I'm like, this is a tip spot in this moment. Even shifting the language from tip spot to $25 spot. So it allows new entertainers to come in. They kind of get to see some of their worth. They get to get paid for either gas or part of their artistry that they did. It's better than nothing. The idea is to raise the base quota higher and higher and higher for show hosts, producers, performers, new entertainers, period. That's what the idea of tipping is that if we can tip more, if we can get from 15% even to 18 or 20%, everybody ultimately is going to be making more money. I think that that's deserving of people. People should realize that they're worth what their services are providing. They should fight for what their wage is, and they should also stand up when people aren't tipping. But I would never in my day stop a show because people were not tipping in the audience, or walk into a performance expecting to get tipped. because although I think I should get tipped the $1 for doing the bare minimum of showing up as a drag entertainer and lip syncing to a song, I do not think that I am deserving of $2, $5, $10, $15 tips from people unless they choose to do that. That is that person's hard-earned money that they might have been tipped with from somebody else that now they're tipping to me, that then I tip to somebody, and it's a weird circle of life when it comes to finances. But it's also a karma thing, a universe thing. I believe that if I'm tipping and when I can, it's the same thing as, this is not the same as, but when you tip $1 to somebody that is homeless on the side, I have a rule that if I ever have $1 in my purse, I tip the $1 to somebody. I don't care about their situation. I don't care about what they're doing. And that's probably a different topic for another day. But that's what I'm saying. Like, if you have the means to do it, I think financial good karma and universal good karma comes back into play because you chose to, you wanted to, you realize how this is going to help or affect somebody else. And I think that that good energy comes back to serve the person that does it. But bottom line, tip if you can. If you're a person receiving a tip, never downplay somebody because you don't know their situation. And I also think that it's valid to feel a certain type of way when you provide the best service and someone gyps you on a check, or if the person gives you an unjustifiable reason as to why they won't tip you.
It's a good learning experience.
You know, shit like that. But tipping is important. It makes the world go round. It shows appreciation. It's good karma. And you never know how much that person could appreciate that dollar, but also appreciate the dollar that you get. Yeah. Tell me what you think about tipping below. Anything triggering that I said? What other topics do you want to hear me talk about? This was your Jess Talk for today. We'll see you next time. Bye.
Attention the whore. Attention the whore. Attention the whore.
Hi, little whores. It's me, Jessica Lahore. And did you know that I'm on Cameo? That's right. Cameo is a platform where you can get personalized messages from me, the biggest whore in all of Colorado. Whether it be a birthday sing-along, a bar mitzvah, a congratulations on your new job, a congratulations you didn't get pregnant, I'm your whore for the message. So follow the link below, click it, and book your next Cameo to surprise your best friend, your grandma, your family member, or any other little Lahore fan out there. Come on, book them now.